Imagine walking alone through the heart of a dark forest. You're just 14, far from home, and suddenly, you're surrounded. But not by humans. By wolves. What happens next defies everything we think we know about nature and humanity. This is not just a story of survival but a journey into the mysterious bond between a young girl and one of nature's fiercest predators. A story of courage, resilience, and the power of empathy that will change the way you see the world. Antonella was an ordinary girl living in a small, picturesque village nestled in the rolling hills of southern Italy. At 14, her life revolved around her family, school, and helping out with chores at home. Despite the simplicity of her life, she had a vivid imagination and a heart full of curiosity. Her favorite escape was the forest, a vast, ancient expanse of trees that seemed to whisper secrets of a time long gone. To her, the forest was more than just a collection of trees. It was a living, breathing entity, filled with countless mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Antonella felt at home there, often wandering deeper than most villagers dared to go. Antonella's voice, reflective. The forest always felt alive to me. It wasn't just trees and animals, it was a world with secrets waiting to be uncovered. One crisp autumn morning, with the leaves rustling underfoot, Antonella ventured farther into the forest than ever before. The path was unfamiliar, the air cooler. Birds chirped sporadically, but an unusual stillness hung in the atmosphere. It was then, among the golden rays filtering through the canopy, that she heard it, a faint whimper. Following the sound, she discovered a wolf cub tangled in a snare, its paw bleeding and eyes filled with pain. For a moment, fear gripped her. Wolves were dangerous, and the villagers spoke of them as predators to be avoided. But looking into the cub's pleading eyes, she couldn't turn away. Without hesitation, she knelt and began freeing the animal. The cub growled softly, its instincts wary of the human touch, but Antonella whispered soothing words. "Antonella, softly. Don't worry, little one. I'm here to help you." The moment she released the cub, it hobbled a few steps and turned back to look at her before disappearing into the underbrush. Antonella stood there, unsure of what to expect, her heart racing. She had no idea that her act of kindness would set off a chain of events that would change her life forever. The following weeks brought a strange feeling that she was being watched. While walking to school or collecting herbs in the forest, Antonella would catch glimpses of shadows moving between the trees, fleeting and silent. It wasn't until she returned to the spot where she had freed the cub that she realized she was being followed, not by one wolf, but by an entire pack. At first, fear surged through her, but as she stood still, the wolves didn't attack. They simply watched, their golden eyes gleaming with an almost human curiosity. Slowly, she began visiting the forest more often, leaving scraps of food or sitting quietly as the wolves observed her from a distance. Over time, their wariness faded. The cub she had saved, now healed, often approached her first, nudging her hand with its snout. Antonella, excitedly, to herself. "They let me touch them today. It's like they know I'm their friend." What began as a single act of kindness blossomed into an extraordinary relationship. Antonella became an honorary member of the pack, learning their ways, their calls, and even their silent language of trust. But not everyone shared her love for the forest and its inhabitants. The villagers had long held superstitions about wolves, seeing them as a threat to their livestock and livelihood. Rumors of Antonella's strange connection to the animals began to circulate, with whispers that she was cursed or dabbling in forbidden magic. She ignored the gossip, choosing to keep her bond with the wolves a secret. After all, she knew that humans often feared what they didn't understand. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the forest was bathed in twilight, Antonella decided to take a shortcut through a less traveled path on her way home. She was halfway through when she encountered a group of men. Their faces were unfamiliar, and their intentions were anything but kind. Man 1, mockingly. "Where are you going, little girl?" Antonella, nervously. "Please, let me go." The men surrounded her, their laughter echoing in the stillness of the forest. Antonella's heart raced, her mind searching for an escape. Just as one of the men reached for her, a low growl pierced the air. Then another. And another. From the shadows emerged the wolves, their eyes glowing with an unearthly light. The pack stood between Antonella and her attackers, their teeth bared and muscles taut. The men, paralyzed by fear, stumbled back. The alpha wolf, a towering figure with a scar running down its snout, let out a bone-chilling howl. That was all it took. The men fled, tripping over themselves in their haste to escape. Antonella stood there, trembling, as the wolves turned their attention to her. But there was no aggression in their gaze, only concern. The cub she had saved approached her, licking her hand as if to say, "You're safe now." Antonella, whispering, "Thank you." From that day on, the bond between Antonella and the wolves deepened. They weren't just her friends, they were her family, her guardians in a world that often felt hostile. She continued her visits to the forest, each one strengthening her understanding of the pack's dynamics, their communication, and their loyalty. Years passed, and Antonella grew into a young woman. Her story became a local legend, though she rarely spoke of that fateful night. To her, the wolves were not just animals, they were a reminder of the profound connections that can exist between humans and nature when fear is replaced with understanding. Antonella's story is a testament to the power of empathy, courage, and the unbreakable bond that can form when we choose kindness over fear. In a world that often draws lines between us and them, her journey reminds us that nature isn't our enemy, it's our ally. Her tale challenges the traditional narratives of dominance over the wild, showing instead that coexistence is not only possible but profoundly enriching. Antonella's voice, reflective. The forest taught me more than any classroom ever could. It taught me about trust, loyalty, and the beauty of connections that transcend words. Lessons from Antonella's journey. Kindness can transform fear. In a world that often sees predators as threats, Antonella chose compassion. Her simple act of freeing the cub broke down barriers, showing that even the fiercest creatures respond to kindness. The power of connection. The wolves didn't just protect Antonella, they became her family. Their bond demonstrates that true connection transcends language, species, and even fear. Today, Antonella lives a quiet life, her experiences shaping her work as a conservationist and storyteller. She dedicates her time to preserving the forests she once roamed and educating others about the importance of coexistence with wildlife. Though the wolves have long since disappeared into the wild, their lessons remain etched in her heart. Antonella, closing thought. They weren't just wolves. They were my teachers, my protectors, and my friends. And they taught me that sometimes, the wildest hearts are the ones that protect us the most. What would you do if nature became your greatest ally?